A warm welcome to yet another edition in the ongoing LinkedIn Live podcast series presented by Strengths Masters. My name is Seshasai and I'm going to be your host for today's session. Now, today we're going to unlock the secret to workplace joy and happiness through strength based leadership. Imagine a world where Monday mornings are met with enthusiasm than dread. Now, you may wonder, is it possible? Yes, it is. Be- Because research and studies reveals that employees who use their strengths daily are 6 times more likely to be engaged at work. Now that's a staggering figure. Today we are joined by two visionaries with over 4 decades of combined HR and L&D expertise. They will reveal how focusing on what people do best rather than fixing weaknesses can revolutionize organizational culture. Ladies and gentlemen, please get ready to discover how aligning individual strengths with organization's goals can skyrocket both happiness and performance. Now, it's time to turn talent into triumph and create a workplace where people don't just survive but thrive. Now, let me introduce our esteemed guest today. We have Varsha Dubey. Now, Varsha is, she's the head of people services at Optimics, focusing on Optimics's most valuable asset, which is people. Now, she uses her empathy, strategic vision, and dedication to foster a culture of continuous learning and development. With nearly 2 decades of experience, Varsha's expertise spans organizational culture, employee engagement, learning and development, training, coaching, and mentoring. She's particularly passionate about the strategic aspects of HR and has successfully implemented many impactful and innovative frameworks throughout her career. Now, in her current role, Varsha is responsible for a range of crucial functions that includes employee happiness and well-being, recruitment, people strategies, culture, performance management, and last but not the least, talent management. Joining her is Abhishek Joshi, who is the founder of Strengths Masters and a Gallup certified strengths coach with an illustrious career and experience in learning and talent management. He has been specifically instrumental in establishing strengths based leadership development and transformation practice in numerous organizations, ranging from large scale companies to growth stage organizations. Now, leaders, without any further delay, let's jump straight into our insightful discussion and conversation with Varsha Dubey and Abhishek Joshi. Now, the first question, Varsha, this is for you. Now, as the head
Mhm.
of people services at Optimics, first of all, a warm welcome to both, Varsha and Abhishek. Thank you very much for sparing your time.
Thank
Now,
you,
Varsha,
Sai.
coming
Thank
back
you,
to the question,
Sai.
yeah, most
Thank you,
welcome.
Sai. It's a pleasure being part of this podcast. And a very good
Pleasure.
evening to all the ladies and gentlemen attending the podcast.
Thank you so much, Varsha, and thank you very much, Abhishek, for being a part of this. Now, going back to the question, Varsha, as the head of people services at Optimics, what are some of the key organizational challenges that led you to explore strengths-based leadership as a solution?
Well, Sai, am I audible?
Absolutely, loud and clear.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, before I answer this question, I would like to take a moment to introduce my organization to all the wonderful, esteemed members present in the call. Well, to talk about Optimics, we are a global technology consulting organization and we partner with organizations across various geographies in order to make sure that they achieve their strategic business outcomes by tailor making our innovative technological solutions in order to align with their business outcomes, right? And like you rightly said, I think something that's very close to my heart is people. That's the most important aspect of HR, which is why we call ourselves as people services and not human resources head at Optimics. Just to give a little summary of what we do here is I take care of people. And when I say people, I'm not just referring to the cherry picked optimizers. We call ourselves optimizers, Sai Abhishek here already aware. And I'm not referring to just those cherry picked optimizers, but I'm referring to all those people who are associated with Optimics in some way or the other, be it our clients, our various stakeholders, the individuals, the optimizers' families, or the society at large. So I personally feel accountable for the happiness and well-being of each of these stakeholders, and which is where we are an organization, although we are a technology services organization, but we are an organization with a heart. I just thought I'll take a moment to give a quick introduction to Optimix for the benefit of everybody present in the call. And I think to answer your question, Sai, I would not say that we had any challenge in particular that we were facing as an organization. But I must tell you that if I have to be very honest, we did have a realization during the COVID era, which was in the year 2020 and post that, that there was a need. We felt the need to be more compassionate than empathetic. Because I somewhere feel we all felt that empathy is a word that has been used and abused by all of us HR fraternity members. But there was a need. The need of the hour was to be more compassionate. And when I say compassionate, I would say that at Optimix, happiness quotient, employee happiness quotient has always been our way of life since inception. But here I'm referring to employee happiness quotient. But I would say that it is this need that we wanted to make a shift in our thought process to move from employee happiness quotient to individual happiness quotient, which is where we felt the need to partner with an esteemed organization who had, people who had a like-minded people philosophy with whom we could absolutely sync perfectly and we could experience the aha moment, if I must say. And towards that, we started exploring the possibility of partnering with an organization. I would say, if I may, that we had a discussion with various organizations. But voila, here we are. Abhishek Joshi and his wonderful coaching and mentoring on the strengths-based leadership intervention, which had a similar people philosophy, just as how we had, that we let people be and we look at the uniqueness of individuals and leaders. So I think those were certain things which led us to believe that yes, we need to scale up to the next level. And if I may take few more moments, Sai, of our time, um, as an organization, any organization, like any other organization, which looks at profitability and revenue growth on a year on year basis. Alongside that, we have also looked at employee happiness quotient growth on a year on year basis. So, to ensure that we do this, we achieve this objective, we really needed our leaders, our next in lines, to support us in this objective for which we needed to be completely empowered. And with Abhishek and the Strengths Masters leadership intervention, we were able to hit it bang on. Thank you.
That was great. That was great, Varsha. Thank you very much for for elucidating that in such a beautiful manner. I particularly when you introduced Optimix, I really liked when you said that we don't call it as human resources but people services, which actually triggered my thought process that people service is not a euphemism. It's not a mild substitution for human resources. It's got a larger meaning which is embedded in it, which people have to understand. And the second point, what you said, the happiness quotient and well-being. I think pandemic has somehow, somewhat has been has actually enabled us to change our, bring about a major paradigm shift in which the way we used to use happiness, because it was very loosely used word. But then within Optimix, you actually took it to the next level. Okay, so thank you very much. I'm sure audience would have loved this response from your end, and the real meaning of happiness and well-being is you beautifully explained. Abhishek, now that brings me to the second question, which is to you. Now, as a Gallup global strengths coach, I'm sure you would have worked with innumerous leaders and teams across industries. Now, could you share what makes strength-based leadership unique in terms of how does it transform organization culture, especially at Optimix? I mean, this is in context of Optimix, yeah.
Thanks, Sai. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Varsha. Good evening, everyone. So, what makes strength-based leadership unique, Sai? It is its individualized approach rather than one size fits all model. It helps leaders in whichever organization we implement this recognize the innate talents of people and how to align their innate talents with the organization goal. That's how the entire philosophy of strength-based leadership works, and this makes these are aspects which makes this entire model very unique. Especially at Optimics, this has been transformational in shifting focus from managing weakness to amplify strength. And it happened because Optimics leadership team is absolutely committed to towards people development. Like Varsha mentioned that she manages a department which is people services. And when we implemented strength-based leadership at Optimics, we started with from top, right? The top leadership team, they took interest, and after that, they were also committed to go through the entire process the way anyone in the organization will go through. That makes a lot of difference. We work with various organizations, but we don't see a lot of commitment of this level towards people development and understanding something which is going to be beneficial for organization and the team members. That kind of commitment from senior leadership team, and this is something which makes our experience unique with Optimics. The overall commitment from the leadership team, they are there when we design the program. They are there when the implementation happens, and they were there at the time of conclusion also. They attended the entire program like anyone else in the organization will do in future. And these are, I mean, when I'm saying this, these they may sound very obvious things, but they are the ones. These are the things which are missing sign in many places where organization want to do a lot of people related interventions, but they don't become successful. And Optimics, these few things have been transformational. In addition to understanding, appreciating the fact that it makes sense to look at what is right with people and then allow them to do what they really want to do, what they really want to do, how they want to contribute in the organization growth. And so that's my that has been my experience, especially at Optimics.
Makes a lot of sense, Abhishek. I mean, two key takeaways for me from your answer. One is, I mean, you spoke about a very simple philosophy that strength-based leadership focuses on leveraging the individual strengths. So, which brings me to a conclusion that yes, the sum of parts is equal to the, is actually equals the whole, right? So, you capitalize on individual strengths, and then which collectively it actually, if you try and extrapolate that to your team strength, which eventually leads to your achieving organizational objectives. So that's the key takeaway. Second, very critical key takeaway is that, of course, in context of Optimics, and of course, if I have to generalize, now the leaders at the top, we just don't need their blessings, but they need to be invested in any initiative which is
Exactly.
focused towards people centric. Okay, so because blessings is
Yeah.
somewhat different. So you better be invested because it's like, what's in it for me? The stakes are very, very high. So I guess that you brought up, I think that's a very, very crucial aspect, because it's just not about approving the budgets, but then keeping a track and monitoring of what's happening. And that's where I guess, Varsha, you did a brilliant job by, you may have created a business case and then presented it for the stakeholders. Now the outcome is visible to the whole world. Great. Thank you very much, Abhishek and Varsha, for that wonderful responses. Okay. Now, this question is to both. Abhishek and, Varsha, you can decide who's going to take the first shot. How does strength-based leadership go beyond traditional leadership models in fostering a positive workplace environment? Now, when I'm asking this question, I'm not trying to dilute the importance of the traditional leadership models, but then yes, because now since we're talking about the AI age and the digital age, we're talking about Gen Z and stuff like that. So, vis-a-vis traditional leadership models, how do you see and how do you visualize strength-based leadership in the current context and going forward?
Right. Sure. I would like to take a dig at this question, Sai. I would say there's a significant difference between both the leadership style of models. If we look at the strength-based style of working or strength-based leadership development program, which organizations aspire to implement at an organization level, I think this goes way beyond the traditional models in terms of certain aspects. But before that, I would like to ask a question, or probably this is something that we all need to ask ourselves before designing a training program, leave aside the implementation part, right? So what we should be asking ourselves as HR heads of organization or leaders of organizations is, what is the purpose of designing a leadership program, right? And I'm pretty sure most of us would have the, answers which are pretty much in our favor, more so on in terms of, probably having the requisite leadership skills to hone the leadership skills for effective leadership implementation, which will over a period of time translate into better collaboration, happier team members, high retention, and so on and so forth. But another question that we need to ask ourselves is, during this journey, when we are designing this program of leadership development or leadership intervention, what typically happens is we somewhere try to focus on making people strive towards perfection, right? And there's a beautiful saying that do not strive for perfection. Don't strive for perfection because you lose the goodness, lose the uniqueness. So I think
Very
the
much.
biggest differentiating factor between a strength-based leadership intervention, Abhishek, you're welcome to add more, you're the subject matter expert, and the traditional models is the uniqueness of the program, that we are helping people to be comfortable in their own skin, in their own talents, in their own individuality, and in their own leadership style. Why change somebody? Like somebody said, I am what I am. I'm not going to change for the whole world. So why do we try to change people? So why don't we focus on their strengths? Why do we look at one size fits all? So why can't we let people be the way they are? And I think that in turn would probably, help people to be in acceptance of their strengths, and that will help them to scale up better over a period of time, leading to positive and desirable outcomes as aspired by any organization. So I would say it was an aha moment for us when we met Abhishek, because we had this people philosophy and there was somebody to guide us right on the track and help us to scale up. And we have these wonderful leaders, right from the top leaders to the next in lines, who have been trained and they are excited about their uniqueness in the quality of strengths that they have. Yeah, that's my 2 cents about, how both the leadership models are very different from each other.
Oh, that's a very unique perspective, Varsha, that you brought to the table. It's like, that reminds me a line. I don't know if my audience, audience going to get confused, but then uh, I am not who I think I am. Okay, I am not who you think I am. I am what you think I am. Okay, so these unique individual strengths, and like, there's a movie also, Who Am I? And in spirituality also, people say कि मैं कौन हूँ. So I think the strength-based leadership, I'm just trying to make a connect, just trying to connect the dots after hearing your listening your perspective. That this is a great, it gives you a great platform to actually identify yourself, and then in differences lies, in diversity lies, lies unity. I think it breaks the conventional myth, okay, which to a large extent even validates the line that I mentioned earlier, that why not start looking at people as to what best they can do rather than getting fixated on the weaknesses. Okay, so thank you very much,
Absolutely.
Varsha. To bring that. Yeah, Abhishek, your take on that.
No, thanks, Sai. Thanks, Varsha. I think I agree with what Varsha just shared. I'd like to share that why more than 90% Fortune 500 companies, all the new age organizations are going with strength-based leadership, and how it is becoming so popular now. The simple reason, Sai, is because it humanizes leadership. Traditional models, they often emphasize on just correcting weakness, and correcting weakness is never ending. While strength-based leadership celebrates what makes all of us unique. Now, this very shift in the thought process creates a very positive and inclusive environment in any organization, right? So it focuses on developing potential without ignoring the deficiencies, but it says that, okay, don't just focus on fixing deficiencies, but also look at developing potential. So it encourages people to be authentic, like you said, who am I? So it encourages leaders to be authentic, use their natural talents, to inspire, connect with teams, and be themselves. That's the uniqueness about strength-based leadership overall model as such.
Fantastic takeaways. I really love the word humanize. Humanize. I mean, I'm going to use it. I'm definitely going to use it. Abhishek, thank you very much. Okay. The next question goes to Varsha. Varsha, how have you seen the application of strength-based leadership affect collaboration at Optimics? Now, this is specifically in context of collaboration. So the tangible impact.
I would say that we have seen a significant difference in the way people collaborate with each other, because it was, like I always say, it was a wow moment for us, because what Abhishek was trying to guide us on and what we were thinking and what we have strongly believed in have been in perfect sync with each other. So just as how there's love at first sight, our philosophies have been in complete sync with each other. However, I would say we are in a situation today, we are in a stage today wherein we speak the language of strengths. All of us know each other's strengths really well. We have, because we, like Abhishek mentioned a while ago, that we have applied the top-down approach. So all our top management people, all our top executives, starting from them to mid-management also, we have all understood and realized our strengths, and not only our strengths, but we have discussed and presented to each other our respective strengths, which has actually helped us to understand why I am the way I am. So when I have a certain strength about me, let's say achiever strength or a strength of responsibility, so that helps me to work more collaboratively and more comfortably with the other person, right? So it is very convenient. There have been moments wherein, I'll take an example that Abhishek has been very comfortable working with me. He has stretched at times because, yes, I have the strength of achiever and responsibility, and that helps us to stay in tandem. And since we have explored each other's strengths better, so it helps us to work better. And this collaboration, when I think we are also in the process of spreading it to the young bees in the organization, right? Because we started way back in 2020. So the journey has been, continuing since then. So when everybody speaks the language of strengths, and everybody understands why a certain person is the way he or she is, why somebody is behaving, or why are people behaving the way they are, I think we are all in peace and we work together more collaboratively. And I think that's where we have made a huge difference by, having the Strength Masters intervention. And most importantly, when people are very comfortable with the kind of strengths they have, the realization also helps people to open up and be more open to the approach of working together in harmony and peace.
Great. I've already started visualizing it as if I'm part of an orchestra, and Varsha, you and Abhishek, like Zubin Mehta, being conductor, and then everybody is like, there's a perfect rhythm, harmony, and synchrony. Perfect. Thanks a lot. I mean, I'm really enjoying this conversation. Okay. Now coming to the practical application, which I'm sure our audience would be keen to know. Abhishek, what are some of the common misconceptions about strength-based leadership, and how can organizations overcome these barriers to maximize its impact?
So, Sai, some of the common misconception is that we ignore weaknesses, right? And that is something which we don't do. While we focus a lot on strengths, but we never ignore weaknesses. If we ignore weaknesses, then we'll be missing out on something very, very interesting. But what happens? We focus on how to maximize strengths and figure out a way of just managing weaknesses. What happens? Areas of improvements have been overrated. So usually, if you look at when someone gives feedback to the other, the focus is more on what the other person is saying about what is wrong with me, so that I can work on them quickly and convert. But if you look at behavioral science challenges it is very difficult to overcome, to actually convert your all areas of improvement into your strengths. If they are technical, skill related, knowledge related, you can acquire and be better at that. But when it comes to behavioral aspects, it is not possible. It is very, very difficult. So when you invest a lot of time in managing, in just converting your weaknesses into strengths, you don't achieve anything. But let's say if you focus on maximizing strengths and figure out a way of managing your weaknesses and look at weaknesses just up to that point, that where you can have some quick wins of managing weaknesses and in specific situation, it makes things a lot easier. So this biggest misconception that we have, that okay, because we belong to strengths community, so we only focus on strength, we ignore weaknesses. No, that's not what we do. The lens that we have of looking at people is a lens of strengths. But when people understand that okay, which are those situations in which their strengths are becoming impediment for them, they appreciate those aspects really well, and they get root cause of a lot of things which they may not have been able to conclude about the feedback, areas of improvement, or certain things they have doubt about. So that's something which is the biggest misconception. Another misconception is that it's only about individual growth. No, it's not like that. In reality, it actually fosters team dynamics, alignment, openness, initiative orientation within an organization, within roles, where people build a culture and people excel together with each other. They accept each other the way they are. The fact differences are advantages. People have data to look at this filter. You break silos, not just because someone is saying that okay, do this to break silos. You look at data and understand that okay, how to break silos. And organization can overcome these barriers by committing to continuous coaching and making strengths as an integral part of their culture. So these are some, two common misconceptions. One is that we ignore weaknesses, which is not true. And another is, it is only about individual and individual growth. No, it is about an organization. It is about team dynamics. It is about aligning people with their role. So that's how it works.
Fantastic, Abhishek. Thank you for demystifying some of the common myths, which is, it's not, strength science doesn't talk about ignoring weaknesses, but it talks about managing weaknesses. That's a great thing to, that's a great perspective. And secondly, this is not just focused on individual things. So thank you very much, Abhishek. I guess audience would have, if any questions, they would have got, they would have received the required answer. Okay, Varsha, now my next question, which is to a large extent related to, now since you've already adopted the strength-based leadership, my question is, which is to a large extent related to the question that I asked Abhishek. Now, I'm sure you would have actually broken the myth or the misconception related to strength leadership. Now, what would be your advice that for organizations that are just beginning their strength-based leadership journey, what would be your advice to them that what could be some of the practical steps or initial actions they should undertake to embed this philosophy into their culture? Because I heard you saying that now strength-based culture is actually, strength-based leadership has become everybody started using the same language, right from the somebody sitting at the top till you're employed at the bottom of the pyramid. So hence I said orchestra. So what would be your advice to the organizations which are thinking of adopting this philosophy?
I think my word of advice to all those organizations who are thinking of implementing this beautiful model in their respective workplaces would be to first bring in a shift in their mindset. When I say bring in a shift in your mindset, I think it will be more on not focusing on making sure that people, the leaders, are striving towards perfection. Because I think perfection is a myth, and a lot of competencies, a lot of uniqueness in the journey, in the bargain is compromised on. So I think let people be real, let people experience and realize their uniqueness, unique strengths that they have. And during this journey of strength-based intervention, it is very important for everybody to experience how beautiful the journey is. So just to give a little example, at Optimix, what we did was when we started the program, and this was something which Abhishek had advised us to do, and I so much vouched for it, I would urge everybody to follow the same principle, that you start with the CXOs, you start with the topmost executive in the organization, and they should be in it heart and soul. You need to experience the journey of, it's like, if I have to say, it's like showing you a mirror, Sai, that, this is what you are. And it's a beautiful journey that everybody has to realize and explore. And once they start exploring their true potential and they start working collaboratively, is when I feel the organization is ready to move to the next in lines, right? That's where you take it to the next in lines. And it's very important to have a very transparent conversation wherein everybody speaks that this is what my strengths are and this is what stays in the balcony and this is what is in the basement. Accepting your strengths and working on, certain strengths to be moved from a certain point to another point is a beautiful transformational journey. And I would recommend to everybody that please begin and have the top down approach. Please begin with your topmost executives, and then eventually you can walk the others and, together. I like they say, walk the talk, right? You start with yourselves and then you percolate it with the rest of the members in the organization. And that day would not be far where you would be experiencing the entire organization, which is focusing on strengths and achieving the larger objectives, like how we have been able to achieve thanks to Abhishek and the beautiful program that we have been implementing for last 4 years, and the journey still continues. That we are looking at, if I have to talk about the business language as well, not just the happiness quotient, but we are also looking at better revenue growth for all those people who are looking at, higher profits. That's something you can definitely look at achieving through the STEM-based interventions. And the first step would be to start with yourself. Yeah.
Great, Varsha. Thank you so much for these for those insights, Varsha. Now I have a follow-up question which goes to you. Now, when you first adopted this philosophy, uh, what were some of the key initiatives you actually implemented to integrate happiness into your organizational culture? Because the concept is new, relatively. It could be new for some. Okay, and how did your employees engage? I'm responded to this whole philosophy of strength-based leadership.
So Varsha has done a lot of work around happiness science, and so Varsha, I'm just adding this question.
Sure, absolutely.
So, so you've done a lot of work around happiness, and you consider happiness as one of the crucial measures of the organization's success. So, if you can just share some of the initiatives that you have taken and share with all of us and all our viewers, that will be really, really good.
Yeah, and I think Abhishek is sharing all this because we have been working very closely together, and he has helped us to only enhance the happiness quotient. So I would welcome everybody to walk with me on this journey back. Since the time Optimix was instituted. So I would say that we have a formula, if I can say. We believe in that in order to enhance the happiness quotient of employees, the right blend of EQ, IQ, and SQ is extremely crucial. It's extremely critical. So we have made sure we have instituted a beautiful model, which is the well-being index, which has optimizers at the center of the equation, wherein it's surrounded by 4 quadrants, wherein we have personal net worth, which people would want to explore and enhance or increase. Then we have social net worth, wherein people are looking for more spiritual or self-fulfillment. Then we have learning and development and learning and growth net worth. And finally, we have the leadership net worth. So this is where I think inculcating the strength-based leadership development program has enhanced the happiness quotient, because it is actually focusing on all the 4 quadrants and our internal well-being team. So I take pride in sharing this, that we have our internal team members who, probably just what they do is they just pick up the call and ask the rest of the optimizers. Their only job is to, make sure that people are happy. So this person, calls up optimizers and asks, how are you doing? Right? And with no other agenda, but just to understand if people are happy. And if there is a need which falls into any of these quadrants, how can we make sure that their need is met? Their needs are catered to, their wants are catered to, right? When we were trying to implement this philosophy, which was pretty much successful to a huge extent, we also wanted the leaders to be in sync with it, which is where the strength-based leadership intervention helped us to enhance and blend the happiness quotient, the well-being model, the index that we already had, to be completely understood by the strength, by the people who are undergoing the strength-based leadership intervention. And together we were able to create magic, is what I would say.
Fantastic. I can clearly say that these four pillars in Optimics, I mean, I started while you were speaking, I was thinking of Maslow's hierarchy theory. The majority of the needs are actually fall under these four pillars. Okay, which eventually leads to the happiness quotient. I mean,
Self-realization. Yeah.
self-realization. Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Right.
Thank you so much, Varsha, for elaborating that so beautifully. Okay, now I think we're approaching towards almost we're at the end of the session. Now, one last question, which is to both. Uh, now, if I have to ask, and I'm sure our audience will also would love to understand that, what would be the one key takeaway you would like the audience to remember about strength-based leadership and its role in enhancing both organizational culture and happiness at work? One key takeaway. So, Varsha, for you one takeaway. Abhishek, for you one takeaway from. Yeah. So, if you could, I mean, anybody can go first.
Varsha, please.
Well, if I have to say that, which is that one key takeaway, which I would like, which I have had, and I would want everybody in this who's attending this podcast to experience, is the success, the journey towards excellence, and which cannot be done unless we are all in it together. Right from the freshest member in the team, or the fresh member on board, to probably the CEO of the organization, you need to experience it, and you need to welcome your strengths and explore your true potential through this, and which will actually help you not only enhance your employee happiness quotient, the overall employee experience. And I would say, most importantly, we have always believed in the philosophy is happy employees lead to ultimately, delighted clients. So if I have to delight my clients, and if I'm looking at better revenues, higher profits as well, it's extremely happy that my internal clients, which is my members and their family members and the society, all of us are really happy, and we are catering to the needs and wants of our clients. And ultimately, we all move towards the journey towards which is what is our the higher purpose at Optimics, which is simplifying success and creating a tomorrow which just gets better with by reimagining technology and implementing the right kind of leadership intervention, which in our case has been strength-based intervention, and there couldn't have been anything better than this, is what I can vouch.
Thank you, Varsha.
That's great. Abhishek, your take?
No, thanks a lot. I think Varsha shared some beautiful insights and real examples of how she implemented strength-based leadership. Not just strength-based leadership, but as an organization, Optimics created a framework of employee well-being and happiness. And I've seen, I witnessed that is a very high priority agenda for Optimics as an organization. And so I'll share, I'll share based on my experience and learning while implementing strength-based leadership at Optimics. And I'll share these are certain things which Optimics has been able to do really, really well. And I think these could be key takeaways for anyone who's part of this today's podcast. So, and I'm sharing exactly how people at Optimics did, and Varsha is there present in front of me, who can really vouch for what I'm saying now. So start small, but be consistent. If you look at at Optimics, it is not about just one-off programs. It's about being consistent. Start small, begin with leadership buy-in, leadership team, because that is crucial for setting the tone. That's something really really well which has been done by Optimics. So that's one important point. Another, Optimics has been able to integrate strengths into the HR processes. It's not like one thing that people talk about in a classroom and they forget about. It's like it's part of the internal process that people have Optimics has been able to create. So it is used in talent development, succession planning, and happiness, and that's something which everyone can learn from Optimics, and that's something which I have learned while implementing it. And last point, Sai, strength-based leadership is about unlocking the true potential of your team members. And when employees feel seen and they feel valued for their strengths, they naturally bring more of themselves to work. And that helps in creating a happier, more engaged workforce. Like in the beginning of this podcast, you shared a few beautiful data points about how people who use their strengths are 6 times likely to be more engaged in their jobs as compared to people who don't focus on strength. So when employees feel seen and valued for their strengths, they naturally bring uh, more more happiness with them to work. So that's something which uh, I think everyone can learn by looking at Optimex as a case study. And I really rate Optimex as an organization really high when it comes to understanding, adopting, and implementing strength-based leadership the way it has been designed. So that's not just one key takeaway. I've shared a couple of key takeaways. So sorry
No,
for.
I know. I mean, as many key takeaways. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be beneficial for audience. But then I loved it. I mean, because my key takeaway is that happiness quotient. Because Varsha has been using the term happiness quotient. We have been quite often we use only IQ, EQ, and XQ, execution quotient. Okay, happiness quotient is something which I believe after listening to you both, that this is one quotient which cuts across all the generations. We've been talking about generation differences, whether Gen X or Gen Y, Gen Z, Centennials, Millennials. This is one quotient, or this is one area which is regardless of age. Okay, everybody wants to be happy. Okay, so this strength-based leadership, what I could derive out of this insightful conversation, and I'm sure even the audience would have felt the same, that this is one area if you focus, and strength-based leadership is one of the platforms which gives you a very, very strong foundation. It will set you on the right runway, and then you can take off. Yeah. So fantastic, Abhishek and Varsha, and that brings us to the concluding few moments of this wonderful session, insightful session. Now, as we wrap up today's enlightening discussion on strength-based leadership, viewers, I hope you are inspired to foster a culture of happiness in your workplace. Remember, that's one of the key takeaways for me is focusing on strength isn't just about boosting morale. Rather, it's a very powerful strategy for driving performance and innovation. And with this, Varsha and Abhishek, thank you once again for sharing your invaluable insights. It was a fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed moderating this session. And to our listeners and viewers, and we strongly encourage you to apply these principles and watch your team flourish. Now, keep it. Yeah, thank you, Varsha. Thank you, Abhishek. And to our audience, watch out this space for our next edition. Till then, stay blessed, stay happy. Now, that's going to be my motto for life now going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sai. We are humbled. Thank you.
Thank you, Sai. Thanks a lot for being such a nice moderator. Really appreciate. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Varsha, for joining us today. Thanks a lot.
It's an absolute pleasure, and I'm humbled, Abhishek. Thank you so much.